That's why I don't eat at Burger King anymore. I don't know if you can relate, but with all the murder suicides and all, it just really got out of hand very quickly, and we had to make a run for it. And oh, it's live.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. Cheers and happy Easter, and what a fabulous story to start on.
Yeah, happy shit. In which we completely misunderstand the perfect cellular regeneration of one John Oldman. I don't know if you've ever seen that film, but
I have not. The only cellular regeneration film I want to see is Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
oh, that's a good one. This is called The Man from Earth, and it's a toggy flick, but it's a good science fiction. So anyway, what's up? How have you been?
I've been good. I'm so glad that you indulged me in my usual lack of timekeeping. So this episode is now going out 3 hours early, is it?
Yeah, well, we don't give a shit about time zones.
No. Who gives a shit about time zones? Who gives a shit about time? I mean, Douglas Adams said that time is an illusion. Lunchtime, doubly so. So that's why we're here. Also, it is Easter. Yay!
Yes, and that's why we're going to talk about Easter eggs. But
yes.
Before we do that, we have something else that we need to get out of the way. Because as you may have been able to detect from our little spiel at the end of each episode, we have a Patreon going. Because it's all about ethics in games journalism.
Boom!
What we've been intending to do with this Patreon is just to see, will it get off the ground? Will people donate shit? If they do, great. If they don't, great. But we had a reward for one of our I don't know, pledges.
Pledges, backers, dudes.
Yeah.
Dudes was too much money.
If you donate $8 a month, we have to thank you. I believe we said at the end of each episode, but we're going to do it now just so we won't miss it, because you have to run out of here as soon as we're done, so in case we miss it. And our first $8 bagger is Steven Alexander of Infamous Quests.
Yes, Infamous Quests. He is very infamous. He does games with the word infamy in the title, and he's an all-around infamous dude. So thank you, Steve, and your fabulous beard.
Thank you very much. So,
and, yeah.
Easter eggs.
Roll intro?
Yeah, intro.
I always like to start the day with the traditional PI breakfast. That hits the spot.
And boom! We're live! Oh, back! Oh, we're back and live. We're probably not live when you're watching this. Anyway, Easter eggs. So, dude, it's Easter and chocolate bunnies and people on crosses. But none of that's really important. What we're going to talk about is, of course, Easter eggs in games, Easter eggs in adventure games in particular. And the first thing I wanted to get out of the way is the definition of an Easter egg in a computer game, because apparently this causes a lot of confusion, especially if you look up on eegs.org, I think it is, the Easter egg, the website with all the Easter eggs.
I've looked a bit at that site in preparation for this episode, and in general, especially the LucasArts games, because they're just chock full of in-jokes and references. They tend to throw people off, and people will think that everything is a fucking Easter egg.
Exactly. Yeah.
A 1138 joke, which they're plenty of in the Star Wars films, and thus also in the LucasArts games. Those are not necessarily Easter eggs.
No, they're not. There's a difference between a reference and an Easter egg. I mean, the Moosehead and Leisure Suit Larry, the bar. That's not an Easter egg. That's just a funny little reference to the Moosehead and the King's Quest games. The Droids Be Us being a parody of Toys R Us, that's not an Easter egg. That's a reference. An Easter egg.
And the Blues Brothers in Space Quest 1, still not Easter eggs.
No, those are not Easter eggs. What an Easter egg is something that you would not encounter during your normal playthrough. It's something that you would either accidentally stumble upon, or is so convoluted and hidden away that it's really just for shits and giggles on behalf of the programming team or the design team.
Yeah, much like if you ever went Easter egg hunting and had sadistic parents.
Exactly.
Where you as a child spent 2 or 3 hours pissing yourself, shitting yourself, crying, looking for these chocolate eggs, only to be told there are no chocolate eggs.
you really must have had a thin bladder as a kid.
That never actually happened to me, but that was kind of like the nightmare, that there would be no fucking chocolate eggs, because sometimes they were really fucking well hidden. And that should be the same case with the adventure game Easter eggs. You have to get off the beaten path to see them.
Yeah, and they should be they should be rewarding as such, because an Easter egg is either just just a little hello, thank you for finding this Easter egg, this is kind of fun, or it's one of those things that actually actually add a little extra flavor to a game. Yeah, I've got a couple of good examples. There's one in King's Quest 4, I think, because I'm not big on King's Quest, so you might have to correct me on that. But in King's Quest,
I've never really played number 4, so I can't correct you. But hit me.
Neither have I. But I found this by reading up on it for some odd reason. King's Quest 4 was apparently done in both SCI and AGI, so there are 2 different versions of it floating around. So far I'm on the right track. I can tell from your facial expression.
That is very, very true.
All right, so this is the one. If you play the now exceedingly rare AGI version of King's Quest 4, apparently at one point you can, near the end of the game, you can type some shit in. You can type in "Beam me up, Scotty," after accomplishing something, and it'll transport you onto an orbital spaceship where the entire design team is standing around the command bridge, and you can walk up and talk to them. And weird shit fly past the windshield and the windows and shit, like a burger and the Starship Enterprise and shit like that. That's fun, and it's not in the SCI version for some reason.
I think I've heard of that, and Sierra were very keen on that in the early days, weren't they? Because in the very first release of Space Quest 1, you had an Easter egg where, I don't recall what you had to do, because I've never owned this version, but you were able to make Ken Williams appear in the halls of Al-Qaeda.
Now, allow me to adopt the role of my alter ego, the Space Quest historian, and elucidate. To get the... sorry?
You're going to hallucinate?
I'm going to hallucinate.
Okay.
Elucidate. You can look that up. Also, you can look up the King's Quest 4 Easter egg on YouTube, by the way. But the Space Quest 1 Easter egg was actually in an early version of Space Quest 1 EGA. I mean, the one that came out in 1987. It doesn't work on any of the Space Quest games you can now download off GOG.com or anything above, I think it's version 2.2 or something. But in an early version, you could type in Ken right at the start of the game, and Ken Williams, like a little AGI avatar of Ken Williams, would walk out and berate the 2 guys for not having the game done on time. And legend goes that Ken Williams did not know that this Easter egg was in the game. And he'd already apparently taken... No, Alicia Sudler wasn't out yet, because Al Lowe used to really, really rip into this dude. But back then, apparently his sense of humor hadn't developed, so he actually ordered them to take the Easter egg out of the game.
Ouch. But yeah, that's another good one.
Which, just to stay on that game for a while, Space Quest 1 EGA, 1987, Ken Williams actually put in an Easter egg that pissed off the 2 guys from Andromeda. If you walk up to Sarian at the end of the game, the evil Sarians in their battle uniform, and type in "Kiss Sarian,"
yeah.
he starts going off on some random spiel about King's Quest being a fantastic game, and you get a point. So you can't
we've already covered this subject. It's all about the poontang. That's not necessarily an Easter egg, but it has been known to be used as one.
It's actually about ethics in games journalism.
Boom!
There you go. And which means you can't actually complete the game with a full score if you don't find that Easter egg. Which is, I'll get back to fun examples. But another thing I wanted to talk about are Easter eggs that somehow are detrimental to the game experience, and this would be an example of one of them. If you are like a purist, if you actually give a fuck about the score in early Sierra games, having to find an Easter egg to complete the game, that's like playing Wolfenstein or Doom and requiring the player to find a secret push wall to complete the level. That's just a no-no.
Yeah, they shouldn't be mandatory. It's like coming across a nice little bit of chocolate that you can, pick up and eat if you feel like it, and if not, you can just, walk past.
Exactly, and most of the time you won't even know there's chocolate there. You'll just think, oh well, this looks kind of fun. I think
this all sounds so wrong. Like coming across a piece of chocolate in the middle of nowhere and not really being able to see if there's anything there. But boy, diggity, it still looks fun.
Oh, look, a sealed wrapper lying on the ground. I will pick this up and unwrap it and possibly eat its contents because
I will not mind the old gentleman in the raincoat leering at me.
So now we're back to childhood memories. Okay.
Yeah, that's an Easter egg for sure.
That is an Easter egg. Oh yeah, and now that we've already gotten Steven Alexander out of the way, but I just want to bring him back in. Good old Steve Bott, because him and his team, when they did the freeware Space Quest 2 BGA remake thing, which you can download free off of their website, you really should go do that. They put in an elaborate Easter egg where at some point you walk onto a cliffside, and there's this little door or a trip door or whatever.
A little trap door that you can't, if I remember correctly, and it's been a while since I played it, you can't explicitly see that it is a door, but there is something there. And if you try to open it, it prompts you for a password. And this was like some extremely obscure reference to, I believe, a 1960s Western TV show that only aired in the US. So nobody got it. But if you were able to type this password in, it would take you to a bar in the caverns of the mountain where the whole team would be standing around drinking and greeting you. Ironically, we also did, around the same time, we did something like that on Valhalla Strikes Back, a secret room with the whole team in it.
Which is apparently, and King's Quest 4 apparently did this as well. Easter eggs are just really self-gratifying little excursions for the design team. Oh, and just the SQ2 Easter egg. A little shout-out to the dude who did our fabulous theme song, Brandon Bloom. He's actually in that secret SQ2 room, jamming out a metal cover of the Space Quest themes from Space Quest 4. That's awesome.
And speaking of Sierra, one more that I thought of, but, again, I'm not big on King's Quest either, so I'm not familiar with the technical intricacies of it. But I do know that if you walk past the Witch's Cave in King's Quest 5 a certain number of times, the Batmobile will drive out. And it'll play a nice little PC speaker rendition of the Batman tune.
No, that's just fun.
Game, that's actually pretty fucking brilliant.
A lot of Easter eggs, at least Sierra Easter eggs, and I'm pretty sure every Easter egg in any computer game ever, are usually put in by programmers who, let's say it's 4 o'clock in the morning, too much pizza, too much beer kind of thing, where they just put it in and it seems like a wonderful idea at the time, and they wake up and they actually kind of forget that it's even in there. One thing I want to bring up, and this is one of my favorite adventure game Easter eggs, is actually in the Discworld game, which I've given a lot of shit for the moon logic and such, and it honestly deserves all of that, but it does have a brilliant Easter egg that wasn't discovered until very, very late. I want to say like 5 years ago or something. I mean, the game is like from what's mid-90s, like 96 or something, I don't know, and it wasn't discovered until like 5 years ago. Apparently, right at the end of the game, if you click on, there's like a huge crowd scene, and if you click on like little pixels, like 5 different pixels in the correct order, Rincewind will say fuck. And he will actually he will get up and do this whole spiel about that he wants to be the first adventure game protagonist to say fuck. And apparently this was an ad-lib by Eric Idle, who was doing the voice of Rincewind when he was in the recording booth, and he was just sitting there with the mic on going, you know what? I want to be the first adventure game protagonist that says fuck.
That's really awesome, because I'm pretty sure that's also a little riff on what John Cleese did at Graham Chapman's memorial service, where Idle would also have been present, where John Cleese said that he wanted to be the first person to say fuck at a memorial service, and well, he was.
And that is a fantastic eulogy, by the way. It goes, and good riddance, the freeloading bastard. And actually, in Discworld 2, they made a reference to this Easter egg, because the story goes, you can look this up on the internet. If you just search for Discworld Easter egg or Discworld fuck or whatever, there's also YouTube videos of it. The story goes that the dude who programmed this in was, he hid it so well that no one actually found it. But apparently, someone's copy of Discworld got a little borked. So when the game crashed, it just started playing all the audio files sequentially while the computer was hanging. And so when it got to the point where Eric Idle says, "I want to be the first adventure game protagonist to say fuck," their I don't know, Christian sensibilities or whatever the hell compelled them to write a threatening letter to Psygnosis saying that they definitely should have put a rating on the game box in case someone might have come across this. So in Discworld 2. In Discworld 2, there's another Easter egg where something about there are some teleporters in that game. Fuck, it's been ages since I played that game. But if you
I've never played it, so you can just bullshit me from this point on.
Right. So when you get to the Burger King murder suicide, what Rincewind does is he teleports into Discworld 1, kind of like what the Guybrush did at the end of Monkey Island 2 when he teleports into Monkey Island 1. Rincewind teleports into Discworld 1 and meets his VGA former self and talks about that he wants to be the first adventure game person to say fuck, and then the old Rincewind goes, "Well, I already did that." And then they had to censor the word fuck in the sequel because, this person might find that Easter egg and get all pissy again or something. So anyway, that's my favorite adventure game Easter egg.
One that I do like, which is less anarchic, is the one in Day of the Tentacle, where you can, if you use weird Ed Edison's computer in his room, you are given access to the original Maniac Mansion. I'm not actually sure if I think it qualifies as an Easter egg.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because
it's not that well hidden. Because if you look in the game's resources, you will see a folder called Maniac, and if you've ever looked on the Maniac Mansion floppy disks, then you're bound to think, this sure looks familiar, and it has the word Maniac in it.
Right. There's no executable, but the game will boot up just fine. And I think it's even in the manual, or maybe it's not. But anyway, it's sort of...
We can find out. Please do keep lettering, because this is a reissue, but it has all manuals and inserts in it. So I'm just going to see if
Fred just pulled out a box copy of Day of the Tentacle. That's amazing. While he's reading up on that, I would say it almost but not quite qualifies as an Easter egg, because it doesn't advance the plot at all, and it's just a fun little excursion. But it's so in your face. I mean, the computer is right there in the room. You can walk up to it, you can look at it, and if all you have to do is just click Use Computer, and then Maniac Mansion boots up. So it's kind of, if it is an Easter egg, and the jury's out on that one. If it is an Easter egg, it's one of the most obvious Easter eggs I've ever found.
That is true. I can't really find. Oh yeah, but wait, that's not all. Original Maniac Mansion!
There you
go. 3 times.
It's not an Easter egg. It is now officially not an Easter egg.
Additional charge. You'll find it while controlling Bernard upstairs in Weird Ed's room, yada yada yada. So yeah, you're right. I stand corrected. It's not an Easter egg.
Which does bring me to, because we've been talking about Sierra Easter eggs, and LucasArts actually weren't that big on Easter eggs. It's not until Not Adventure, Rebel Assault 2 is chock full of Easter eggs, but that's a late game. None of their adventure games, as far as I can remember. Oh, there's one. There's one in Full Throttle, which is just an undocumented keyboard shortcut. If you hit Control W, it asks, "Do you want to win?" And you can just press Y, and it just cuts directly to the credits.
That's a bit like cheat in, was it Space Quest 2?
Yeah. Now that's an Easter egg. And
okay, you win.
Fabulous.
Oh, another one, and it seems we're sticking with Sierra here, but another one I thought of from Space Quest 2 is Take Condom. There's no indicator that there is a condom in your locker, way back at the beginning at the Xenon orbital station. But
really,
and there is a little. I don't recall explicitly what the joke is, but there is some joke about it being like merchandise for someone who, without really knowing him or her or it, would never license a condom.
Well, while Space Quest 2 was in development, Mark Crow, who did all the graphics for it, was also doing all the graphics for Aldo's first Leisure Suit Larry game. So something might have, bled over. No pun intended. Oh, and the cheat thing, just for everyone who hasn't tried it, just at any given point in Space Quest 2, type in the word cheat. It'll teleport you to a false game over screen with where you get 255 out of 250 available points, and it'll congratulate you on being a cheating fuck.
For once, I'm actually in the IRC channel, which is why it seems my attention is flinching. But I'm just trying to pay attention to the few people who want to listen to and or watch this. Hey guys.
Hey guys, on the IRC channel. Oh yeah, so we don't have to do this during the spiel. You guys can go on IRC and chat with us during the show if you want to. Just ask us a question. We'll probably get to it. I've got it on my screen right here. And to get to it, you don't even need an IRC client. If you have no idea what IRC is, just hop on backseatdesigners.com, click IRC channel, and there's a little web interface thingy that you can pop up and hop over and ask us something. And right now, no one really is. But that's cool too. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, another one, if I may. I do know the clock is ticking, but we've still got some time left.
We've got time.
Space Quest 4, the hidden Space Quest 3 Ortega scene.
Oh,
in my opinion, that's very much an Easter egg. It doesn't. I suppose it kind of depends on how you play Space Quest, because morbid as we are, many of us Space Quest fans play these games to see the death scenes, and this gives you a unique death scene where you melt because obviously you don't have your thermoweave underwear with you.
Right. And it's a secret time code in the game that takes you to a planet that was in the previous game, Space Quest 3. And the planet is a lava planet that's so hot that you instantly melt once you exit the time pod. So it's actually kind of an evil Easter egg. It kills you flat out.
Because you think, oh man, I've stumbled upon something. And one of the plot points of the game is obviously that you have to go back to Space Quest 4 to solve a bunch of puzzles and get a bunch of stuff.
1. You mean no, you don't go back to Space Quest 4. What are you talking about?
You go back to Space Quest 1, get a bunch of shit. So you think, oh, I might need this, but in actuality you don't.
Right, exactly, and then they even cut out an Easter egg of Space Quest 4, which is the room removed for legal reasons, which it's come to be known in Space Quest circles. It's a room full with you played the end to Leisure Suit Larry 3 when he goes into the Sierra Studios and sees them stick figuring all the Sierra games. This is kind of the same thing. You teleport into a room that's full of props from different all the props that got the two guys from Andromeda into trouble.
So CC Top is standing in there, and there's the Droids R Us. Was that the original version of that logo?
Yeah, that's the one. They had to change that. The old Radio Shock.
Which got changed to Hurt So Good.
Which I actually think is funnier. But
it's a better joke. Actually, it actually is. But of course, none of those will ever live up to what I believe might be a missing Easter egg, or it's so well hidden that we've never found it, which is the blue frogs on my shoulder makes me happy.
Oh, right, yeah.
It must be in there for a reason. That's all I'm saying, man. But it's just, this Easter egg or whatever the fuck it is so obscure that no one, not even Scott fucking Murphy, knows how it got in there.
No, that's for those of you just tuning into what is now becoming Space Quest Historian Live. I'm sorry we keep going on about Space Quest, but
that was how this show got its beginnings. Originally, it was Space Quest Historian After Dark, and it's not even dark yet, but we can live up to like half of it.
All right, that's true. Anyway, the blue frogs on my shoulders thing. I mean, us Space Quest nerds got so bored at one point. I think it might have been me who just sat there and listened to the entire resource audio file. I mean, all the speech in Space Quest 4 from beginning to end. And one line from Gary Owens, may he rest in peace, the narrator shows up where he just sings "Blue frogs on my shoulders makes me happy," and no one has been able to trigger this voice file in the game itself. Apparently, it's not in there.
I'm thinking maybe Gary had us. I mean, even at this point, he knew he was, gaining an age, and maybe he just meant to take the piss. Maybe he put it in there, and he knew we were gonna get completely stumped, and now he's gone, and we will never know the answer. That in itself is actually an Easter egg. It's interesting because it's kind of like an Easter egg for hackers. People who make their way into the resources to have a peek at the forbidden stuff, and they stumble across this thing that no one knows how got in there.
That's true. I'm not even sure if this qualifies as an Easter egg because you don't trigger it inside the game, but it's still fun. There was this old British adventure game called Universe, actually made by Core Design, the dudes who went on to do Tomb Raider and buttfuck adventure gaming in the ass forever. They did a really, really terrible point-and-click adventure game called Universe.
But before they made terrible action adventure games, they made terrible point-and-click adventure games. I'm intrigued. Keep going.
Right. If you open up the executable file in a hex editor, I believe, or just a text editor, and scroll down to the bottom, it'll just come up as garbled, characters and shit and like that. But once you hit the bottom of the file, real text shows up, like actual letters in all caps, and it's a long-ass rant from one of the programmers who apparently is bitching that he has to convert Universe from Amiga to PC, and there's a lot of swear words in there. And it's
I think I've seen you do a blog on that, where I saw some.
I did.
I've never played it, but I saw those screenshots. We got an Easter egg off the IRC channel by Ari at Akago, and I know you've said you'll bring it up, so maybe you'll have the honor. I've never played the game in question, so...
I have, Perish the Thought. I just wanted to bring up another one that's not really an Easter egg in a game, because the Universe one reminded me.
The Easter egg to bring up something that's not an Easter egg.
Exactly. I just have to really...
Easter eggs.
Because I was watching the Brian Moriarty postmortem on Loom here the other day, and I keep wanting to call him Brian Arty because of Space Quest 4. I'm sorry, yeah. Professor Moriarty. If you in the FM Towns or CD-ROM version of Loom, if you capture a screenshot of one of the elders before they get turned into swans, and you paint over the face of one of them, the black face with the little eyes in it, paint that over. Someone wrote in black letters, "Loom sucks."
It actually doesn't. It actually isn't used in the CD version. I don't believe the portrait in question is ever used, because this portrait is exclusive to the resources of the CD version. But one story goes that what happened was that they had these guys convert every single character close-up from the floppy version. They're all in there. They just go unused. And this guy This guy was probably pissed that he had to do that, so he wrote "Loom sucks" in, I think, one shade lighter than black or something.
Exactly.
Just so if you fill out the rest of the face, it'll come out.
Exactly, and it is used in the FM Towns version. I do believe the close-ups are all intact.
That specific version is used. Most of the close-ups in the FM Towns version are slightly different VGA conversions than what would wind up in the CD versions.
Wow, I just got schooled on Loom, dude. So anyway, let's boom. So anyway, let's bring up the one that Amir Akago told us on IRC, which is, I can't believe I didn't think of this, because it actually involves my other favorite game. If you play Broken Sword 2, and I don't see why you should, but if you do, and you go down to the subway in London, you have to complete a certain number of steps. If you walk to the right, then you walk to the left again. There's a ghost floating near a vending machine, and then you do something with the ghost, and then you get teleported into
that is just intriguingly vague.
It is, and it makes no goddamn sense. It's one of those things. Easter eggs are always triggered by these little weirdo hints, like you see something out of the corner of your eye, and you go, "What the fuck was that?" and then years later, you have accidentally triggered some. You remember this thing, and you go over and mess with it, and then you suddenly trigger this Easter egg. And the Broken Sword 2 is one of those things. There's a ghost floating near the vending machine, and it sort of disappears very quickly. You almost can't make it over to it to fuck with it. But if you do, it teleports you to the subway in Beneath the Steel Sky. And you're controlling Nico at this point in Broken Sword 2, so she walks up to Robert Foster, the protagonist in Beneath the Steel Sky, and he basically verbally berates her for messing with his game. He just goes, "I'm fucking Robert Foster." He doesn't swear, but he says, "I'm Robert Foster. Get out of my game," or something.
No. Good one, Overman.
Which he then does. Oh, and in the same game, near the end, there's a fantastically idiotic, really cumbersome logic puzzle that involves turning some Mayan wheels and some shit. But if you click on just the right pixel in that room, because you're supposed to turn these dials to open a door. Ooh. But if you click on just the right pixel, Nico will just walk over to the door, lift up her shirt, and flash the door, and it opens.
Because that just works every time. Last one from the IRC channel before we delve into the what I believe will be the theoretical conclusion about whether to apply Easter eggs is over on the IRC channel. Mike, I believe it's Pycik, who is also along with Amariat Akago, one of our Patreon baggers. Sorry for continually mispronouncing your name, Mike. Has brought up Neil's European Vacation from Space Quest 4, which I believe you trigger in when you hit the sewers and you're in this antechamber where you trigger the hologram of Professor Lloyd. If you bring the mouse cursor down to one corner with the Buckazoid selected and click, you'll trigger a slideshow with pictures of the vacation of one of the developers.
Yeah, Neil Matz, who was a programmer, I believe, on Space Quest 4, and also the voice of what's the condiments in the Monolith Burger arcade sequence? He's the pickle.
Yeah, Scott is the mustard, and
yeah, Scott's the mustard. William Shockley's the ketchup, and Neil Matz is the pickle. He tastes like crunchy toe jam sautéed in vinegar.
Awesome. So yeah, that was it. Yeah.
That's
were had by all. He's just prouder.
So now that we've got good types of Easter eggs and adventure games out of the way, I just wanted to bring up a little quick point before we get to our telling people what to do. I was asking, and this is kind of a plea out to anyone who just wants to get in on this game, because I love finding Easter eggs. I think they add flavor and they're really cool. I mean, Leisure Suit Larry 7 had a bunch of Easter eggs, and even had a little icon that blinked at the top of the screen that went, "You've just found an Easter egg." Usually it involved seeing tits, but they're all great. But newer adventure games. I asked this on our Facebook group. Can anyone just, does anyone have examples of Easter eggs in newer games? And I was playing Gemini Rue, and I think it was Natalie, Rizulka, who went on and said, well, there are these 4 hidden characters that show up from the anime. The fuck's it called? It was just on the tip of my tongue.
That is the title. The anime, the fuck's it called.
Yeah, that's the one. It'll come to me way too late. Anyway, Cowboy Bebop, that's the one. 4 of those characters are hiding out in certain screens, and I actually ran into one of them and didn't recognize him as Cowboy Bebop. He just stands there and says some enigmatic line, and you can't do anything with him. That's an Easter egg, I guess, and you're supposed to find all 4 of them, and then stuff happens at the end. But other than that, no one can really come up with any great, Easter eggs from modern adventure games. I mean, stuff that's come out after 2010.
We have one from the Silver Lining, but it's the on water gag. But I don't count it, not only because, I mean, sorry, Phoenix, I like you and all, but it's just not very good. And, it's not that hidden, because one last resort that we vintage adventure game fans always have is use everything on everything and everyone. every last inventory item, every last cursor. So, making an Easter egg that is triggered by using the hand icon on a puddle of water, it's just hiding in plain sight. And as we have defined earlier, you cannot hide something in plain sight and have it be an Easter egg.
Oh, that reminds me. I just wanna pull down your pants and stroke you gently for a bit, because you actually put in Fred here was the lead thingamajig on the Space Quest fan game Valhalla Strikes Back.
I like to say co-lead because yeah,
co-lead,
but I was
whatever.
there the whole fucking time.
You wore a fancy hat, and it probably wasn't you, but someone put in this magnificently convoluted Easter egg in Valhalla Strikes Back, where you have to show this useless inventory object to every single character in the game, and then you get a special ending.
You get a secret cookie ending. That was Andres Kalle, our resident Estonian, I believe, came up with that idea. And we actually do give you a bit of leeway. You don't have to show the windshield glass to every single character, but if you miss 2 or 3, then I believe the game will still say that's all right. I've personally never done it because I've just had instant access to that ending via the debugger.
So you have no idea if it actually works or not.
I believe it does work. I've heard of at least one person who has managed to trigger it. I'll tell you another one that we kind of talked about, or it was one of my ideas that never really got anywhere. But if you remember Space Quest Incinerations, which kind of became the sister game to Valhalla Strikes Back, because we kind of
sister, it was butch as fuck.
We okay, brother game.
Right.
We worked a little across the board to make sure that they would mostly fit together. And one of the points in the ending in Incinerations is that, spoiler alert, Roger Wilco Jr.'s gone insane, and you end up catapulting him to Radon in Valhalla Strikes Back, about 30 years after you've been there. 10, 20, 30, whatever years after you've been there in Valhalla Strikes Back, because Incinerations takes place after. And I had this idea that suppose we have AGS look at the system clock, and if you keep standing on the same radon screen in 10 years, Havoc and Roger Jr. and the guys from Incinerations will beam down. That's one of those where I would have just, if someone had found that, then man, you wasted 10 years of your fucking life on this.
Just have your computer stand there, just having Valhalla Strikes Back. Is it actually in the game, or are we just about to waste it?
It was just this little throwaway idea, and I actually went, I think we should do this, but I don't think it even got a reply.
There's another brilliant one. Fuck it, let's just move on. There are tons of great Easter eggs.
You don't want to disappoint your friend on his chilly evening and all that.
That's right. I'm going to an Easter chili. I have no idea what chili has to do with Easter, but it's going to be lots of fun, and that's why I'm drinking this cheap German beer.
It has about as much to do with Easter as chocolate eggs have to do with Jesus.
Or nailing someone to a cross has something to do with bunnies that shit eggs.
This is my blood. This is my body. Oh, chocolate.
And now we have no Christian viewers. That's not that. Anyway, what thing I wanted to get to is the purpose of Easter eggs, like I said, is to provide some flavor, is to provide not replayability. But if you sort of have the idea, I mean, it's kind of like when you're playing a 3D game and you can see the ledge that has a power up on it, but you can't quite get to it, and you know that you're supposed to go some way around it, and it turns out it's a secret area. I mean, 3D games were very, like Quake and Doom, they were very good at telegraphing. Here's a secret, haha, get to it, fucker.
Yeah.
Let's see if you get that one. Adventure games sort of do the same thing, like I said, with a ghost in Broken Sword 2. It's just hovering there for no reason whatsoever, and you just go, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And then you go through the rest of the game thinking, all right, maybe I have to go back and talk to the ghost, but no, he never shows up again. So you just forget about it. And then at some point later in your life, you're playing through the game, and you go, what the fuck is that ghost thing all about anyway? And you start messing with it.
It's kind of food for exploration, which is something we like as adventure gamers. You know, it's an incitement. If there is that little hint that if you veer off the path for a little bit, you'll find something good, then that becomes an incitement for exploration. And I dig that. You know, look.
Are you sure the English word is incitement?
It is now.
Now I can't remember the English word. You bastard.
Yeah, the English word from here on out is incitement. You can probably guess what I mean.
All right, cool. This is not our native language. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's one of those things where if you love a game so much that you're willing to go back and play it again, you're bound to just start tinkering with it. Like us Space Quest fans, we sat there and listened to the entire fucking audio file of Space Quest 4, and you keep going back and see, okay, what else this game got for me? And if the developers are, you know, clever or funny enough to put in some little hidden detail that you know. I mean, Super Mario World, my God, there's an entire world that's just hidden away. If you do like these little odd steps in sequence, then you're transported to a whole different world with 8 new levels. Adventure games do the same sort of thing. There's like little touches, little nudges. So, with that in mind, if that's the goal of an Easter egg, to, you know, sort of titillate and to reward players who actually thought your game was good enough to go back and try to fuck with it and see if they can find anything in the game. What are some examples of really bad Easter eggs? Or what would be detrimental to a playing experience? Like too many Easter eggs, for instance. I mean, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
We've already made it past some of those, I think. I mean, the Kissarian, Easter egg, and the one in the Silver Lining. You know, one of them because it becomes detrimental to the point where you can't get a full point count if you don't trigger it, and the other one because it's just there. I mean, to an old school adventure gamer, it's not completely out of bounds that you would try to use the hand icon on the water. There may be, you know, a coin or whatever fucking shit hidden down there.
Exactly. One of those kind of Easter eggs I really like is doing something in repetition. And I hate to bring up Space Quest again, but Space Quest 6 had a couple of these. Like if you click the hand icon on the little number in the information superhighway office, there's this ticker that ticks down whose turn it is, and you're supposed to fuck with this ticker. If you just click the hand icon on it, Gary Owens, the narrator, says something, wow. If you click on it like 6 or 7 times, he goes, wow, this makes my nipples hard. For no reason whatsoever. I love that, and there are several of these. If you click on E.T. in the booze store at the beginning of the game, if you click on him once, you touch his finger, and then it goes, and it's like this funny little E.T. reference. That's cool. If you do it 6 or 7 times, then Roger pulls his finger and E.T. farts, which is a much more clever joke.
I've never actually tried that. I have to go back and try that now. I've never actually triggered that Easter egg.
There are a couple of funny. I mean, booting up Space Quest 6 on 3 different birthdays, 2 of the artists on William Shockley's birthday, I believe, or you can just boot it up on Halloween, which is my birthday. Hey, if you then go to 8 Rear on the Deep Ship 86, you know, the little bar that is on the Deep Ship 86. Yeah, your friend Circuit Sydney's head will float off of his shoulders and sport red eyes and follow you around the screen, which is creepy as hell.
But really funny.
Oh, and our friend Mike just popped up another Sierra Easter egg that's not Space Quest is in Leisure Suit Larry 6. If you sit on the toilet, use the brochure, and then use the moisturizing lotion, you get points. Oh my God, Mike, I was so infatuated with this idea. I'd never actually tried that in Leisure Suit Larry 6, and it is my favorite Leisure Suit Larry game. And then you get points. Never, ever, ever award points for Easter eggs. Never do that.
And especially don't award points for masturbation. I mean, really, kids, it's bad for you. You go blind.
Where is this going? Okay, so detrimental Easter eggs are Easter eggs that get in the way of playing. If there are too many of them, or if they're too obvious, if they somehow either prevent you from completing the game, which is unfair. It's like finding the hidden door to get through the Wolfenstein level. Never ever do that. Or if you just butt fuck the player from completing the game fair and square, like offering points for finding an Easter egg. That's bad form. Good Easter eggs are just the little things like this makes my nipple hard line. That's funny in its own right, and no one would ever think to do that unless they were really bored. To also secret rooms that you could go in and talk to the developers and such. I love all that shit. Keep doing that. And I really wish more adventure game developers would do that in current games. There must be more of them.
Yeah. Why aren't you guys doing it? Get your shit together. No.
Yeah, really.
It's Easter. Jesus would be disappointed.
Yes. Jesus is disappointed with you, current adventure game developers. We need more Easter eggs.
That's another T-shirt design. Jesus is disappointed.
And then just the two of us hugging, going, da, da, da.
Yeah.
Jesus is disappointed. All right. I really have nothing else to add to this.
We also have to go. So I think this has been a fun discussion. I hope everyone who is watching and/or listening to it are thinking the same thing. Without further, I can't talk. So I'm just going to talk like this. So listen. Without further ado, we're going to head into the spiel now.
Right. I just want to say, yeah, it's been a fun discussion, and it's been one of those cuddly kind of not us arguing and not us getting into the nitty-gritty. It's just been a fun little, things. And then just the plea to adventure game developers: please don't stop putting in Easter eggs, because we love finding them and we love playing your games, even if they are completely terrible, like Discworld 2.
It really warms my Easter bunny heart. More so than it's been warming on the saucepan all day. But this really got it going.
Ding. Take away the spiel, my kind sir.
Go to backseatdesigners.com, which is pretty much our portal for anything Backseat Designers. We've also got an open Facebook group called Backseat Designers. You may notice a pattern here. Twitter handle is BS Designers. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/backseatdesigners. We have a Google Plus page. If you're currently watching this live, you know where it is. I think we have a fancy URL called googleplus.com/plus backseatdesigners. Am I correct?
No. It's plus.google.com/+backseatdesigners.
Well, of course.
Google Plus.
Presumably, this is why Google Plus has totally tanked as a social media.
Yeah, useless URLs.
You've mentioned the RSC channel. I believe we have mentioned the Patreon.
YouTube. Subscribe to our shit on youtube.com/backseatdesigners, where you can find the fancy video episodes of this thing. And you can listen to the audio versions and subscribe to those via iTunes and Stitcher Radio and whatever the else hell you want, RSS feeds, over at backseatdesigners.podbean.com. Boom!
That was a good spiel.
Yeah, we're getting good at this. It only took 6 minutes or so. Sorry?
I was just, the whole tongue getting stuck in back of mouth thing.
Yeah, that was the first 2 minutes of the 6 minute spiel.
Yeah. So we've also got... we're going to go give away our snail mail addresses eventually.
And phone numbers and blood types.
Accounts.
Yeah. No, that's what the Patreon thing is for.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, my thanks to Stephen Alexander for throwing way too much money at us. I also want to thank our other backers, who we don't have to mention by name because they gave under $8. But really, really, thank you so much, guys. We have no idea what the hell you're doing. You're sad, pathetic people. I'm really selling this.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, seriously, thank you, and we'll see you guys next week for whatever. Let's do a funny one. Let's do one where we argue a bit.
Yeah, let's do that. Until then, happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
No more for today.